Today you're going to meet Jim Gale, a four-time All-American wrestler from Minnesota State University and 1993 national champion for the Mavericks. And you're going to learn how Jim created this amazing property. Welcome to Galts Landing.
Galts Landing here in Central Florida. This area outside of our fence is here for the community to propagate and grow their own food. So we're growing things like yucca or cassava and sweet potatoes, papaya, moringa. Pretty soon there'll be bananas in here. All of those crops are fast growing and they're easy to propagate, because when the food supply chain collapses, which may happen any day now, definitely in the near future, we want our community to eat. Food security is when everybody's eating. All right, and this here is going to be a huge global industry, taking the military-industrial complex, recycling that war machine, and turning it into housing. 3D printed, cold form steel. No fire, no termites, no mold. It's strong and it's better on every level. Let's keep the trees in the ground and let's use steel.
Welcome back, Jim. It is a pleasure to be here.
Matt,
Galts
it's a
Landing.
pleasure. I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you. So the folks want to know, before we get into this beautiful property, Galts Landing, a little bit about yourself. We know that you were a wrestler out of Minnesota State, national champion. What was it like for you growing up in Minnesota?
I loved growing up in Minnesota. They called me Nature Boy growing up. I got into wrestling in about 4th grade. My dad was a wrestler. He wrestled for Roseville. He ended up getting 3rd as a junior. And wrestling was in the family, to say the least. All right, so I grew up grappling with everybody I could grapple with, and I loved being outside. I loved everything to do with fishing and hunting and playing with frogs and turtles and snakes and just being outside.
Yeah, we grew up very much the same. That was always my passions, wrestling, fishing, hunting, the outdoors, and you're in the perfect place, right here. Yeah. So let's talk, before we talk about what brought you here, talk a little bit about your collegiate career and some of your highlights there. Let's just focus on the 1993 season and that national championship win.
All right. Well, I'd like to focus on what brought that to the possibilities. So as a junior in high school, I was rated first all year long, and I was supposed to win. And my opponent in the finals was Jerry Martin out of Roosevelt. We happened to be born on the same day, Christmas Eve, 1969. And I had beat him 5 times in a row. And I was scared to wrestle him in the finals because I knew that there was something going on. And I cut too much weight. I cut down to 101 pounds my junior year. And I lost the match. And my senior year, I got beat out first round. My first year in college at the U of M was horrible. And then my coach at Mankato asked the whole team to write their goals. And I didn't want to because it seemed like homework to me, and I was not a big fan of the pen and paper. And something happened, though, when I wrote my goals. And a little backstory. Previous to that, I listened to Dennis Waitley's The Psychology of Winning. And it blew my mind. I couldn't believe that that wasn't taught to me in school. So anyway, as I wrote my goals, I was remembering what Dennis Waitley had said in that incredible series, The Psychology of Winning. And I wrote my goals, and I wrote that I wanted to be a 3-time All-American and national champion. And as soon as I started writing, my mind started exploding with possibilities. It changed my identity. It literally changed who I was, because for the first time ever, I had a compelling vision of myself in the future. And I ended up being a 4-time All-American national champ, inducted into the National Hall of Fame. And it was absolutely phenomenal. And there are a couple fun parts to that. I ended up being a freshman. I thought I was a sophomore, but I ended up getting an extra year because of an injury. And my classmates, my teammates, elected me captain of the wrestling team when I was actually a redshirted freshman, which is very uncommon in the NCAAs. And that helped to shift also who I thought I was. And so I've lived with that ever since. It's my awareness that with a lot of energy and effort and a strong vision, we can achieve anything that we can conceive and believe.
Yes, and that leadership role that you were in as team captain, you brought that to today and you're really a community leader here in Florida. We saw in the opener how you have all of your products out there for free for the local folks, which is awesome. I mean, my God, let's think about it. The cost of the average grocery bill has doubled, literally doubled in the last 3 years. So you're doing so many great things here for the folks.
It's because we are at war, and the first domino to ending the war and creating literally, and I know this blows people's minds, but literally in a general sense, peace on earth. When we take away the scarcity narrative that drives fear, when we simply do what's logical and best for us on every conceivable level, and that's take out the poisons and grow food instead of lawns. When we catalyze a shift in awareness that leads to mass adoption of taking the poisons out and growing food instead of lawns, we solve deforestation and mass extinction, cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. We end world hunger, and we end tyranny by simply doing what's best for us.
That's really the only way that people can be free, is to be independent, right?
Yeah. That's exactly right. Freedom starts with independence. You're either dependent or you're independent. You're either governmented, which actually means mind control. To govern is to manage, steer, or control, and mente is mind. So we got
a friend.
We got a little turkey, a Royal Palm visitor here. So yes, so we recognize the solution. I recognize the solution very clearly, and I've made it an obsession, now a loving obsession, to bring this to the world to the best of my ability.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's backtrack a little bit. What brought you here to the Sunshine State of Florida?
Well, a series of incredible events brought us here. My daughter and our good friend's daughter here are best friends. We spent a year together in Costa Rica back about 12 or 13 years ago. And when the daughters got on Skype, we knew we had to leave Costa Rica because the government was harassing the heck out of me there. And we sued the government and won, by the way. They owe us $28 million, according to a court-appointed actuary, but that's another story. Anyway, we had to leave Costa Rica because the government was interfering in our business, just like they do all over the world. And I wanted to come back to the United States. I recognized back then that we are at war, and I want to be here in the battleground where it makes the most difference and where I can have the most freedom to do what I want to do.
Absolutely. And you walk around this property. When you enter here, you see you're flying the civil peace flag, not the war flag. You're doing so much here to help the community, and it's so beautiful. Behind us is a lake. Tell us about that, the property here, and about that lake.
The way this came together is amazing, to say the least. My partner and I were looking for land, and we had several priorities. One is it had to be on water. Two is it had to have enough room to create an airport, even a grass airport, or a landing strip, I mean. And three, we wanted it to be close to the Orlando International Airport. When we shared our vision with all the local realtors and developers and property owners, they said it doesn't exist. There's nothing like that. It's impossible. 2 weeks later, I got a phone call, and now we're here on 51 acres with 3,000 acres of lake frontage on a private 430-acre lake where we have the only dock on this lake, and it's loaded with bass and crappies.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And there's a mile-long paved runway right there.
Yes.
Right, literally bordering our property. So the vision is world leaders are going to come to Galts Landing, named after John Galt from Atlas Shrugged, and they are going to learn about, they're going to experience freedom on a level that they have never experienced, and it's going to change how they help to guide their communities.
Absolutely. And you want to tell people about that? Because I was thinking that it was named after from the Atlas Shrugged
Yes.
book. Tell people a little bit about that.
Well, Atlas Shrugged was the 20th best-selling book of all time, so it's a bestseller, and it's about government tyranny and intervention and sheeple. It's about people just obeying the slave master, right? Goethe said, none are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. When I recognized that, I first got pissed off. I'm not a slave, and I was kind of mad about it. And then I instantly recognized with a few simple questions like, do you pay by the threat of force and violence a product of your labor? Well, then that's called slavery. And so with that recognition, we are standing, which that statue implies, in non-compliance with all things unethical and unjust and all the slave masters. And here's the fun part. We've built now 11 homes, 5 tiny homes, and we got 5 larger homes in process. We did not ask for permission from the EPA, right? I am the EPA. We are the EPA. Instead, we invite the EPA here under our guidelines to actually learn what's good. And guess what? They're not showing up. What they will allow me to do based on their current statutes is to use glyphosate and Roundup and poison this land. We're not doing that, so they're leaving us alone.
Yeah, that is awesome and inspirational. And speaking of inspirational, the folks listening, they can do this on their own.
Everybody can do this.
Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah.
And how you're helping guide people.
That's the fun part. So I like to break it down to its most simple understanding. The lowest common denominator of freedom and inspiration, and it's planting seeds of awareness that lead to new choices, right? So if you have any land and you want to grow food, you can plant one tree, Guild, right? If you're in Minnesota, maybe it's an apple tree, or maybe here it's an avocado tree. Wherever you are, everywhere in the world, permaculture, which is the sustainable agricultural design science that we advocate and demonstrate, it works everywhere, right? It's a set of ethics and principles. The ethics are simple: earth care, people care, and fair voluntary share, right? And the principles are awesome. So when you start with one fruit tree, the return on investment of that one act, which might take you, let's say you go to Home Depot and you buy a not so great fruit tree, and you buy the right kind of soil, and you buy some of the support species that will help that tree. Let's say it costs you $500 or $600 and a half day's labor. Right? Now, let's say you got $700 or $800 of total time, money, and everything into that. Within a year and a half, 2 years, that fruit tree will double or triple or 10x in size. And if you go to the nursery and buy that same fruit tree at that size, the price is going to be double or triple or 10x. Not to mention, now you're getting food. Within 4 or 5 years on that fruit tree, you've already got 100% ROI, and now you're getting the equal or better ROI every single year for generations to come. And here's the kicker. You can count the seeds in an apple, but you cannot count the apples in a seed. So that fruit tree can be the source of exponential more food and abundance and free energy forever.
Absolutely. Hence the term food forest abundance.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. That's our motto. That's our mission. That's our intent. Just like BlackRock is the intent of that entity. By their deeds, by their fruits, you shall know them. Right? Food forest abundance says it all. When we catalyze a shift that leads to mass adoption of food everywhere without poisons, we win.
Absolutely. And this place is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's so cool because, you know, I've hunted turkey before and I've never seen one come so close.
Right?
You know, like this. This is awesome. It's amazing. Here, I'll see if I can jump. Look at that.
Yeah.
This facility is amazing, and I should tell people how we met. We met through a great mutual friend of ours, Pat Militich.
Yeah.
And Pat is really on board with this project and helping people to have autonomy and freedom, right?
Oh, it's Pat. So what's come together, a group of us have come together, Pat being a representation of what we are attracting. Not only was he the best in the world at his art, right? Not only did he break the mold and create a new mold, but he also became a coach and a teacher. And at that level, he also won massively. And now he recognizes the next big battle. Yeah. And that's the battle to save the soil. That's a battle to save the immune system of our living planet. And I'm so thankful that Pat and Theo Fleury, the hockey legend, and General Holt, and Jen Nolan, and Doc Chambers, and all of these amazing people are coming together for the same mission. When we organize for peace and abundance, as well as the psychopaths are organizing for war, said Martin Luther King, then we will have peace.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Pat is a coach, and he's
Yes.
coaching people on a number of things and educating folks on a number of things. It has been for years, for many years.
And one more thing I'd like to add about Pat and these other folks. Not only did he do all those things, but he also had the awareness and the courage to say no 3 years ago.
That's right.
Or 4 years ago now. Like when you add those elements into the same human being, it's powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've got to tell you, Jim, it has been such a pleasure and I'm going to spend some more time here and check out this facility. And I've got some property in my own yard there that I want to turn into a food forest. We talked about that. And God, I got to tell people, just walking around the property here with Jim and tasting some of these delicious food that he cultivates out here, it is amazing. And this place is amazing. Galts Landing, everybody. Food forest abundance. Jim Gale, it has been an absolute pleasure.
Matt, thank you so much.